Hello, welcome in everyone. I am John from J&N Travels with my co-host Brandon, and this is the sports edition of J&N Travel. Today's show will be split into four quarters, which the first quarter will be some sports highlights, current sports highlights in the news. Second quarter will be golf players tournament. This is a tournament that's going on now that I'll get a little bit of an explanation from Brandon for people who aren't familiar with it. It might give you a little bit of insight. Third quarter we'll touch on the March Madness, which the seedings are tonight. So we can't really give you the brackets, but we can touch base on a few of the top teams. And our fourth quarter, which is our biggest one, will be our opinion on who the starting quarterbacks will be for every NFL team. So, Brandon, welcome in.
Appreciate you having me again. Thank you so much.
And Brandon is going to start with his news item. So, Brandon, you can take it away.
Sure. John, we have Marvin Hagler actually just passed away at the age of 66. Hall of Fame boxers as well as celebrities have kind of been mourning and kind of honoring him and his boxing championships. I'm sure you're excited to see that Cam Newton is returning to the New England Patriots on a one-year deal. And
boy, is that sad. That is sad news for me.
I'm sure you're just jumping for joy. We have Tom Brady actually agreeing to a contract extension through 2022 now. And I did see that he's going to make about $41 million in 2021, so this year. So the front loading that you mean, or? Yeah, so it looks like it's being front loaded, kind of like what the Patriots were doing with him as well too. So we have.
So he'll probably retire as a Tampa Bay quarterback then.
Yeah, I saw a quote saying that he thinks that's his last stop, but I know he seems to really be flaunting the Tampa Bay weather as well too. And he's got that quote saying he wouldn't mind if he didn't have to come back to New England.
Yeah, that's for sure. And they actually visit New England next year, I think. I'm not sure what month it is.
Yeah, yep, I think you're right. Hopefully it's a nice chilly one for him.
Yeah, I hope so. Even though he is one of those quarterbacks that can play very well in the cold weather, so. But maybe his receivers can't catch a ball in the cold weather. Who knows?
Well, Giselle can't catch as well too, right? Or her husband can't catch well.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll stay down in Tampa.
Oh yes, that's right. So we have Carmelo Anthony just passed Hakeem Olajuwon for 11th on the NBA's all-time scoring list. And I believe he needs about like 400 more points to move into the top 10 to pass Elvin Hayes. What do you think? Think he gets 400?
Yeah, it's a shame. Would you need 400 points? Yeah, there'll be some team that will keep him around. I've never really cared for the player, but I'm surprised he passed Olajuwon. But that's probably going to be length of their careers, I imagine. Someone just passed Larry Bird this week too. I can't remember who it was.
Oh yeah, I didn't see that.
I think Harden did. Okay. Harden passed Larry Bird in points, and I'm not sure what place that would be.
Yeah, maybe mid-20s. Maybe I'm trying to think of the list off the top of my head.
Right.
And lastly, we have the Philadelphia 76ers star Joel Embiid. They just diagnosed him with a bone bruise to his knee, and they said they'll reevaluate him in about 2 weeks. My guess is he'll be out longer than that, knowing that he's they're going to rely on him and need him come playoff time, and he's somebody that's already had some knee issues and injuries as well too. So my guess is it's longer than 2 weeks.
And that's interesting with him too. He's probably the front runner, wouldn't you say, for the MVP right now?
Yeah, I would say either he or LeBron. I know Vegas just kind of changed their odds and had him the front runner to win the MVP. So we'll see what happens with that as well.
In the way this NBA works, you could miss half the season and still get the MVP.
Right.
But yeah, that's what Philly's what about in. Let's see, they're behind. I'm trying to think of the standings in my head here. They're in second place or third. Brooklyn's going to be in first, right?
I'll be honest. I haven't even looked for a while. I want to say Brooklyn won. Yeah, Brooklyn won. I think Philly too, actually.
Yeah.
Milwaukee's been kind of struggling.
So that's an important spot for them to hang in that top three. It'd be interesting to see if I doubt they'll rush him back, but when they bring him back.
Right.
Okay. So that's your five. Now I'll swing over the baseball for a minute here. Very interesting article. They were talking about the baseball teams and letting fans back in at some capacity. And the Texas Rangers actually talking about letting 100% of the fan capacity for their opener. So you think it's too early or what?
I mean, I would say so. I get that you want to have some capacity for sure. I think just jumping to 100 seems a little aggressive. But hey, maybe I guess, in Texas, COVID's not really real.
Well, at least a lot of people believe it. I mean, Texas, California, and Florida were supposedly the tough states for that, and it seems like California is the only one that took it real serious.
Yeah. Well, who knows? What's the right move? What's the right move and what's the wrong move? Yeah,
absolutely right. Oh, welcome in, Will Cooper. Good afternoon to you, and Paul Vines. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so second one I have is New York Yankees newcomer Corey Kluber takes another step after 2 lost years. I guess he's had a couple decent preseason outings. Not that really matters, but at least he's not falling apart. He could be a great find for the Yankees.
Oh, absolutely. Again, in true Yankee fashion, I always feel like you're loaded on paper, and then they just find a way not to win the big game.
In our lifetime, it's funny, and I look at it the same way. But geez, you go back a few years and they dominated. Remember, they couldn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, with the young Derek Jeter days.
Yeah, even before that, I'm thinking. But yeah, you're right. But he could be another one if he pans out. It's funny. A lot of these leagues now they're giving teams they're giving big bucks for very questionable pitching. I mean, you look at the Red Sox with that huge extension before they had to Sale, and the guy hasn't pitched yet.
No, then you start thinking about David Price and all of these pitchers that just seem to get a lot of money that probably isn't quite deserved.
Right.
Talk about
go ahead.
That's a gig right there. You play one house. 5 games off, and then pitch again.
I know. I always love when they suspend the pitcher. And they don't suspend them for a number of starts; they suspend them for a number of days.
That's right. Days that he's going to have off anyways.
Right. Exactly. Not a big Georgetown college basketball fan, but I did love this story, and this seems to be the norm right now in these tournaments. Patrick Ewing led Georgetown stuns Creighton to win the Big East men's basketball title and an automatic punch to the NCAA double March Madness tournament. It's a great story, and there's several. Didn't Baylor lose in their final? And who was the upset game? Yeah, that was the game we were talking about yesterday, right?
Yeah. Baylor, and then you had Iowa, losing to Illinois as well too. So you had some some great games, some top teams losing though.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot more fun. I'll give you that. And I'm not sure. We had talked about this in the background. I'm not sure how they haven't really posted how the NCAA is going to handle this. We've already had a couple teams have to forfeit out of a big tournament game.
Yeah, it's interesting that they haven't really said anything. There's no information on that whatsoever. If a team is on to the second round and then they have an outbreak, what does that mean? Are they just done, or do you reschedule? What's going to happen?
Okay, now they're talking like Duke. If they qualified, could actually be playing in the tournament when weren't they out of it because of the pandemic or the exposure?
Yeah, they had an outbreak, and so they had to drop out of the ACC tournament. And But yeah, I just saw that they said that. Well, they could technically if they get an at-large bid, but I don't think they've done enough this season to get an at-large bid. So I think they're probably done.
Right. Well, welcome in Blaine from Blaine Creative Travel. And Will Cooper says, I'm not watching these conference tournaments, the dress rehearsals to come. Yeah, that's what they seem to be this year. Not a huge boxing fan, but this is an interesting article. The featherweight battle between Dan Ing and Gavin Tucker was one of the most anticipated fights heading into Saturday's UFC. What the heck was that noise? Fight night card. In Las Vegas, Ing edged what was expected to be the 145-pound slugfest with a single punch just 22 seconds into the fight. Do you follow UFC at all?
I do a little bit. I didn't see that, but yeah, I follow a little bit.
But that's interesting, huh?
Yeah.
I always thought that was, you got these big pay-per-view boxing matches or any kind of wrestling match like that, and the thing's over in 30 seconds.
Yeah, and it's not even a fight.
Right. Not even a fight. And the last news story is a stunning finish to Daytona 500. Daytona 500 results. Michael McDowell wins after a fiery final lap crash knocks Joey Logano out of first. So for you NASCAR fans,
that's always an exciting race to watch, just because there's so much that seems to always happen in the last few laps.
Right.
Every Daytona 500, it seems like.
Will Cooper says if there's an outbreak, they're out. So I wonder if that. I guess it would even be one player. They would consider an outbreak because you don't know how many people are exposed to. And Paul Vine says praying for a healthy tournament. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Did they ever decide, are they bubbling them at all? They're not bubbling them, right? They are narrowing the sites where they're going to play.
Yeah. It was the bubble worked really well with the NBA too. So I was wondering if that was going to potentially be, a thing. And they were talking about like Indiana or whatnot, which I think would have been cool. But yeah.
You would even think that college would be easier to bubble because if they're still in school, right? So you could almost have requirements back at the hotel, to do online studies. So I would think it'd be a lot easier to bubble something like that. But I'm sure it's the money.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. And I just feel like that. Can you imagine that setup? I mean, you have 64 teams or whatnot, and you're trying to figure out that whole bubble situation.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, and the college has a lot of money, but it's nothing like the NBA.
Right. Well, and then even the behind the scenes stuff they're talking about with the NBA with cooking for them and their meals and everything too, stuff that you wouldn't even really think about.
Right. Exactly. Okay, and that ends our quarter number one, and we move on to quarter number two, which is golf. Now, I am not a huge golf fan. Basically, what do we do? There is a Players Tournament. I think is it called the Players Tournament, Brandon?
Yeah, it's called the Players. Yeah.
Okay, it's called the Players Tournament, and that is happening this weekend. And just out of curiosity's sake, I asked a bunch of questions, and I thought that would be an interesting topic. How many people out there follow golf, and how many have actually followed this tournament? So I'm basically a hack golfer who watches some golf on TV. Brandon is an avid golfer who enjoys golf quite a bit on TV. There is a golf tournament called the Players Tournament going on this weekend. So I thought we could learn a little about this tournament. So our second quarter will be based on this tournament. So Brandon, what is this tournament and who are the top names in the tournament?
Yeah, so actually I currently have the tournament on right now. So if you see me kind of glaring up, it's because I'm trying to take a peek at the leaderboard or whatnot. But so I mean, pretty much every big name is in this tournament. It's the Players Championship, Florida. It's not considered one of the four majors, but it's kind of like they call it a mini major essentially, where it's like the fifth biggest tournament. And it's one of the toughest tournaments to win just because of the setup and the fact that there's so many good golfers in it. But so yeah, for the most part, every quality golfer. I don't think Ricky Fowler was in it, and then Tiger Woods, obviously with his accident, isn't in it. But for the most part, everybody is in it. And then obviously after Thursday, Friday, you have to qualify to then move on to the weekend. So there's a cut and whatnot.
Okay. Now, I assume this name, I've heard Bryson won it last year. Is that correct?
I don't know if he won it last year. He just won a tournament the week before, not the Players.
Oh, okay. That's where the name popped up. Because I was curious if you think that he has a chance at winning back-to-backs.
Yeah, I had it on before. I think he was 3 shots off the lead. Yeah, he's playing really good golf right now. I don't know what's happened since we started this live, but I think he definitely has a chance. He's in the final group. I think he was 1 shot off the lead to start. But yeah, I don't know if you know anything about him, John, but he's an interesting guy. He's kind of a big sciencey type of guy. So he actually. All of his clubs the shaft is the same length, and he just,
really?
Just like the loft of the club changes, and he's huge in he studies up on like barometric pressure, so the amount of pressure in the air and the atmosphere, and so he's kind of, they call him a golf geek and like a golf nerd.
Oh, interesting. Okay. The players in this particular tournament, how do they stack up against other top tournaments? Do you get a draw of a lot of your top golfers here?
Yeah, so pretty much all of them. I mean, this is one, it's a gorgeous course, and in 2, I think the amount of money is pretty high up. It pays out like a major would, one of the 4 majors. So you get pretty much all of the top golfers.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Now, for someone who's not into this golf tournament as much as you would be, for instance, it kind of intrigued me about, I noticed there was a lot of unusual holes at this golf course. Now, 2 of them that jumped out at me were holes 17 and 18. Do you think these holes are going to have a big impact on the final standings? Yeah,
I absolutely would say so, and it normally does. Every year this tournament, it seems like it comes down to 16, 17, and 18. And the cool thing is, like, so 16 is a reachable par 5. So a lot of times you have players putting for eagle, and it's a pretty easy hole. It's one of the easier holes, so that like can swing things quite a bit. And then you have 17 and 18, which are the 2 toughest holes on the course. And so that really, can play a big factor in. This course has a ton of water and a lot of water hazards, so things can change really quickly with 1 poor shot.
Okay, now what are your thoughts? They're talking about those 2 or 3 holes. What are your thoughts on hole number 17 at the Players? And I'm curious if you think, as an avid golfer, how many shots would it take you to get on the green? I'm going to pop up a quick picture of hole 17. You can see what we're talking about.
Yeah. 17 is an incredible hole. I think it's actually one of the top. I think it's one of the best holes in golf. You have obviously that you have the island green there. It's normally like 110 to like 100. I think today they have it playing 133 yards. So it's really short. Really short hole. However, the green is so small, and the green is actually, you can't really tell from the picture, but the green is pretty undulated. So there's a top shelf and a bottom shelf, and depending on where the pin placement is, it can make a pretty big difference. I love that hole. I think that's a great hole. I would love to have a chance to play that hole, to be honest.
When we went to Bermuda, was this one of the ones that they replicated at the little mini golf course?
I believe so. I'm trying to actually remember. I think so. I think this was one of the top American holes that they had that they replicated.
Because I look at this hole, and as a hack golfer, I honestly think I could hit the green, but I think every one of mine would either roll off into the water or bounce into the water. I just don't. You'd probably have to hit on the top half, on the heel of it, just to keep the ball on the green?
Yeah, so since it's so short, if you hit a lot of the pros are hitting like a gap wedge. I would probably be hitting like a pitching wedge or maybe even like a soft 9-iron or whatnot. But normally those clubs flight the ball pretty high, so they kind of stick. But yeah, I mean, if you hit a line drive, that's not going to stay. And I mean, those greens roll so fast too, so there's no way that's going to stay by any means. So you can see here though. I mean, if they hit it in the water, you can kind of see. So where the stands are, if you're looking straight back, that's pretty much where they're teeing off from. If they hit it in the water, if you look at the picture, there's a little spot to the right. That's actually the drop zone. So you actually have to hit over water again if you hit your ball in the water. So until you're on hitting over water, yeah. So it can really change. It can really change up the tournament. That's hole 17. So after that, you have one more hole left. So that can change the whole tournament.
Now, I know you can't answer this fully, but just off the top of your head on what you've watched, what percentage would you say of them actually get it on the green on the first shot?
Yeah, that's a tough. So I saw I think it was a statistic on either Thursday or Friday that there was 36 golfers had hit a ball into the water, and so out of a field of I want to say like 120 maybe or something. That's a pretty big percentage when you're talking about pro golfers,
right?
And so yeah, so there it's a tough hole. I would probably say, on average, maybe like 80% hit the green, but there's a whole lot that can happen even when you hit the green because of the two shelves, two different shelves. You'll see a lot of 3 putts as well too, which ends up being a bogey.
Right. Would you say, based on these 3 holes, and I know you don't have the layouts of all the golf courses in front of you, but would you think these would be the 3 toughest holes, the last 3 on this course, compared to other golf courses?
I would say 17 and 18 are going to be the tough, very tough holes. 16 is a really easy hole, which I think is kind of fun to see. You have one of the easiest holes on the course, then followed up by 2 of the toughest ones. So I think that's kind of cool and fun, and it just allows for a whole lot to happen essentially in the final 3 holes.
Okay, now this is 17, as you said, just so people can see. This is 18.
Yes.
This is a great shot of 18. So you actually have to go over the water. Is it twice, it looks like, just to get on the green?
So you can see where the green is. You actually can't hit the ball over the water. So you actually have to hit it off to the right. But there's the fairway is so small. A lot of times they'll drive it through the fairway, or they'll pull their tee shot left into the water. And so it's also a phenomenal hole where it's tough to hit the fairway.
That's a fascinating. And then I think I have a picture here of 16, and I really can't tell by this one. It's the best picture I could find, but is that just a straight shot along or is the green the thing right over the water there past the island?
Yeah, it's kind of it's a little dogleg right. So so it's a little bit of a dogleg right, but it's a pretty drivable par 5 essentially, where a lot of times golfers are putting for eagle on it. But you can see, even if you make a mistake, you got water. So you have water on the last 3 holes, and there's that water's kind of all around everywhere on the course. But yeah, so water really comes into play on 16, 17, and 18 for sure.
Right. So what I'm looking at, it's not actually this is the green we're looking at. So basically is it straight up there along the right side of the water where you're driving from? Is that where
exactly. If you're to move your cursor towards the left, so towards like the stands essentially, that's the tees a little behind those. Yeah.
Oh, over here. Okay, I thought it was over here. All right. Okay. Well, those are interesting things. So maybe you could give us just to kind of end this particular quarter. You could give us the golf news today. Now, this tournament's been going on since Thursday, I think, and it ends today, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you could just recap quickly where we are right now, since you have the leaderboard right in front of you.
Yeah. So I actually, on the TV, they don't have the leaderboard up, but I can actually, let me just look it up just because I'm curious as well too. I know a few names that that were around was Lee Westwood was in the mix. All right, so here it is right here. So we have Justin Thomas at -13, Lee Westwood at -12. So those two are obviously neck and neck, and then a couple guys at -10. So you got Corey Connors and Brian Harmon at -10. So it looks like Bryson has fallen off of the leaderboard a little bit here. So a couple big names in Westwood and Justin Thomas. It's interesting where Lee Westwood actually, I think he's 43 and he hasn't won a big tournament yet. He hasn't won any of the majors, the 4 majors, or the Players, which, like I said before, is a mini major. So it'll be interesting if he can kind of slay the dragon, if you will, and finally win a bigger tournament.
Okay. And moving from, let's see, we're on quarter 2. Just quickly, because I guess I'm falling a little bit behind on this. What is your favorite golfer or golfers, and quickly why?
I absolutely love Dustin Johnson. Dustin Johnson is by far my favorite golfer. I love his demeanor. He was a 3-sport athlete in high school, and so he's a freak athlete. And I just love the way he plays. He's a great driver of the ball, and just always seems to be level-headed, even keeled, no matter what's going on. And he was a great basketball player as well too, in high school. So I like that about him. So easy question, Dustin Johnson for sure.
Okay, great. Now let me, before we go, that'll be the end of quarter number 2, but let me quickly go through the chat here. See, let's see.
I like that. Paul says he couldn't break 200 on that course. Paul, I'm a pretty good golfer, and I might be right there with you too.
Gabby wants to know what I'm drinking beer. Will Cooper, I'm not watching. Okay, conference tournaments, I did that. Praying for Phil Healthy, did that. Sliding down the chat. Okay, Will, to answer our news question, he said part of the first round is also at Indiana's arena and Purdue's arena. That goes back to our NCAA talk.
Okay, yeah.
Paul Vine says, I heard they were going to be at different arenas to get all the games in the same area. My friend Sean from Australia is giving me his time at 7:17. Doing fine, Sean, and we are at 4:28 on the East Coast in New Hampshire. Blaine says our local PGA tournament, RBC Heritage, next month. Dustin Johnson will be here again. So maybe it's a good road trip for you to do, Brandon.
Yeah, I would say I think RBC Heritage actually sponsors him, so that's probably why he'll be there.
And Gabby asked the question we already answered. You're an avid golfer. I'm a hack golfer, which maybe heading to the retirement, you can tune me up so I don't get embarrassed going on the golf course, Brandon.
I would love to. That'd be awesome. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. Whoops. Shit.
Although you still got a few more years before retirement, don't you?
Well, it's getting closer and closer. Let's see. Blaine says, better use a ball. It will stick near the pin. Paul says, I couldn't break 200. I think you answered that one. Oh, I didn't catch him. Welcome in, Jeffrey Resendez. Thank you for joining us. He's our friend from Rhode Island. I wonder if he's getting this snow. We're getting heavy snow here in New Hampshire right now.
After a couple of 60-degree days.
Knowledge TV, Sharif. Hi, friend. Hello to you. Thank you for joining us. And Blaine also says Lee Westwood would have been so close to many times, but can't win the close ones. Yeah,
he has been there quite a bit and just can't finish the deal. Hopefully, I like him. He seems like a great guy. I'm rooting for him today.
And Will Cooper, always been a Tiger fan. So Tiger would have been in this tournament then, huh?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he definitely would have been, as long as obviously if you were healthy.
Right. Okay, so let's move on to quarter number 3. These are the holes. If you just joined us from the from the Players Tournament. Okay, Final Four. Now, we're not going to go. Originally, we were going to talk more. Both Brandon and I playing many Final Four or March Madness pools. I ran one. This would have been close to my 25th year running one. Last year was canceled because the tournament was canceled. And this year, I just did not want the headache of trying to figure out when teams dropped out. So I'm putting it on hold again. But we were going to at one point analyze the tournament, but the seedings don't come out till tonight. So we're just going to talk about some of the top teams who could win it and in this segment. So, Brandon, do you want to initiate this conversation?
Let's do it. Yeah. Let's start.
Top teams.
Sure. This year is interesting. I feel like you could really go anywhere. I would say probably 1 through 10 in the rankings, you could easily win it. I love Mark Few. He's the Gonzaga coach. I think he does a great job. He's done really well with that program. They just let me down too many times. I don't think Gonzaga has what it takes in order to win. So I'm going to skip on Gonzaga. I think Baylor is tough, and I know they lost against Oklahoma State, I believe, a couple nights ago in their tournament. But I like Baylor a lot, and I like Michigan a lot. And I'm gonna say I like Michigan a little more than Baylor. And just because they have great guard play, they have an excellent big in Dickerson, and Juwan Howard has them playing really tough. So I'm going to say I like Michigan and Baylor as well too.
Okay, now not knowing how the seedings we'll just assume it's open house, so that Michigan could probably pick Baylor in the finals, or at least the semis. So you'll go with Michigan with Baylor as your second seeding, right?
Yeah, and now of course who knows what this is going to look like and whatnot. But yeah, I'm gonna go with those being the two top teams. And I know Ohio State just beat Michigan in the Big Ten tournament. But that was one of Michigan's guards was out, and again I forget who said it, but it kind of just a warm up for the actual tourney. Of course, you want to win those tournaments, but yeah. So I'm gonna say Michigan and Baylor. I also really do like Ohio State, and I think they're tough. And I do like West Virginia as well too. It's funny. I'm not, for some reason, I'm not a big Bob Huggins fan personally, and I don't even know why. But I love the way his teams play. His teams play hard, and they press, and they're just aggressive, and that's exactly how I'd want my team to play. But for some reason, I just don't like them, and I'm not even sure why.
Okay. It's funny. We haven't even talked about this ahead of time, and I have the same feelings with Gonzaga. I've always loved the team, and I followed them the last several years, but they always seem, even when they're the favorite team, to lose it. And I feel the same way. I mean, everyone's got to be drooling over them. Undefeated season, blah, 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 blah. And most of their victories have been very one-sided. But I feel the same thing. They're going to find a way to lose it on the way in. It could even be in the final. And I'm going in any pool I play this year with Baylor. I think Baylor has a much more, defense does pay dividends in the playoffs, and I think that's one of the big weaknesses of Gonzaga. The other big weakness, which I think is huge, I always remember the Providence Flyers from years ago with three-point shooting. I think that is a huge thing. As much as I hate three-point shooting, as you know, I think that's huge in the tournament. I think Gonzaga lacks that. I think Baylor is so well balanced with their shooting, and I think they're a top 3 team in rankings in both defense and offense.
Yeah, you're right.
So I'm going with Baylor. Michigan, I probably would put Illinois before I would put Michigan. I just think Michigan's lost some games that I thought they shouldn't have lost. So I, maybe put them in the Final Four, but I have Baylor winning it. With maybe Gonzaga second, we'll say, and and then Illinois, and then maybe Michigan down there. So that's kind of how I would see the top four.
Okay. Yeah, Illinois, they play tough and they're well coached. I couldn't even name a player unless I looked up a player from Illinois, which is normally is not the case for your top teams. You normally have just an absolute stud standout, and so I like that call. What about some sleepers, John? You got any sleepers that you think could make a run?
I was looking at Ohio State as a sleeper, even though you have them as one of your top teams. So I just kind of look at them as a sleeper, and and that's really as far as I went with sleepers. It's such a, like you said, such an open tournament this year with these teams making their way into the tournament, by virtual winning their division when they probably shouldn't be in there to begin with, right?
Right. Yeah.
Will Cooper asked a question: who will do better, the Big Ten or the Big 12?
I think Big Ten easily. When I say easily, I don't know if I actually. I don't mean easily because both of those conferences are phenomenal. But I'm gonna say Big Ten. I think they're more physical. They kind of wear you down. All of those teams seem to wear you down and take long possessions and defensively just kind of beat you up a little bit. So I'm gonna go with Big Ten. How about you?
I agree, and I think they're a little bit more well balanced too, if you want to use that term. So I would go the same route without breaking down all the teams. That's where I would go. Blaine says feels weird not taking Carolina, Duke, Kentucky, or others like Virginia. Yeah, I mean Duke, right? If they get in, it's going to be they can't make it into the tournament obviously because they had to sit out. So it would just be an at-large bid, right? It's the only way that Duke can get in.
Yeah, I just can't imagine that happening. I mean, that's a really good point too. When's the last time that one of those big teams? I mean, we're talking about North Carolina, Duke, Kentucky, or Virginia, not even really being a factor in the tournament, which is crazy. When's the last time that's happened?
They had some stat out, and they said Duke and Kentucky, and I can't remember who was made it to the tournament or made it to a certain point. There was some stat out there, but it's been like 30 years or something like that. It's incredible.
That is crazy. It is nice. It is refreshing to talk about some different programs though. I think that's nice. I'm a kind of a Duke fan, and I actually love Virginia as well too. But it's nice talking about like Iowa, for instance, and Illinois, and those Baylor being kind of back. I think it's fresh and exciting.
Yeah, I hear you. Blaine, you still down in Georgia? He had gone down in a group meetup with a bunch of people in Georgia, which was like a lot of fun. I'm wondering if he's still down there. Okay, so that's our shortened version of the Final Four. You going to watch the pairings tonight, Brandon, at all?
Yeah, I'll probably. I don't know if I'll watch it live, but I'll definitely check out the bracket to see how it looks. Probably after the fact. Yeah, I probably should give the TV to my wife at some point. So.
Well, you've got a couple TVs you can split it. But are the games set up the same way? Because remember, for years they started on Thursday, and then the last several years they had the playing games on, I want to say Monday and Tuesday. Do you know how it's set up right now?
I'll be honest, I'm not sure, but I guess I haven't heard any difference. So that'd be my guess that it's the same. And I like that. I kind of like that style that they have. And it kind of gives you like that Monday, Tuesday is kind of like a little tease into the tournament with the playing games. And then, and then Thursday, Friday, it takes off.
Right.
I saw a statistic it was something about work productivity on Thursday and Friday. It just going completely down the toilet essentially when the games start happening.
And you wonder if it could get any less than it is in the last year, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
People sitting at home.
Right. I know. I'll probably find my way out of work a little early on Thursday, Friday, and so I can tune into some games.
Yeah, no, same here. Blaine says, I agree. It's good for the sport to have others. Of course, you got to pick on my Patriots, kind of like the Patriots, laughing out loud. I know everyone except for the New England area feels the same way about the Patriots. But as far as NCAA teams, I think that's true. I mean, I would bet you 90% of the people that watch the March Madness are cheering for the underdog.
Yeah, I would agree. I see Will Cooper has a schedule figured out.
Okay, yeah. So he's saying the schedule is different. First four is Thursday. First round starts Friday. First four is Thursday. So that must be the play-in he's talking about.
Okay.
If they call it that. So they must all play back-to-back at one site, I'm guessing. And then the first round's on Friday. So they're eliminating one round. I wonder if there's the same amount of teams in there? Oh, he says Sweet 16 is 2 weekends from now. So they must be compressing these games.
Maybe, yeah. Let's travel or something, maybe, yeah.
Interesting. See, I haven't really looked at the schedule because I didn't see much put out there right now. Maybe they're still trying to decide a lot of the details. I don't know. Okay. So that ends quarter number 3, and we go into our fourth quarter, Brandon, and this is the NFL teams. We each sat down individually and put down 32 teams in the league and came up with who we thought was going to be the starting quarterback when the first game happens in 2021. So, Brandon, I'll just bring up the team here, and then we can take turns saying who we think the starting quarterbacks are going to be.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so Buffalo Bills. I'll let you go first.
I mean, I think this is an obvious one. I think we probably will agree with this. I don't think Josh Allen's going anywhere, so I'm gonna say Josh Allen.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's no discussion there. Miami Dolphins.
This is an interesting one. You know, you've kind of heard maybe Deshaun Watson linked there. I'm gonna say that Deshaun ends up staying actually in Houston. Now, I think that's going to cause some controversy as well, too, but we'll talk a little bit more when we get there. So I'm going to say Tua is a starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins.
I agree. As much as they're building Miami up to be in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes, I don't think they have a shot at him. And I'll explain myself when we get further down the list. Okay. So we actually agree on the first two. Okay, here might be the first one. New England Patriots.
Well, I wouldn't have gone this way if you would ask me this a week ago. But with Cam Newton, re-signing, I'm going to say it's got to be Cam Newton.
Okay, I totally disagree with you. First of all, I think the sign of Newton was idiotic, and we won't go through that whole process. But I think the way his contract is structured, I think they're taking him in because the draft is a month away, I think it is. And also, San Francisco is not going to make any moves until they know they have a quarterback, which could be the draft or trading up in the draft. So they're going to hang on to Garoppolo till then. I think that if Garoppolo is dropped, and I think he will be, that the Patriots will pick him up. And Cam will be the backup. And I have a feeling there's a handshake agreement with the Patriots and Cam right now that this is what we're doing, so don't be surprised and have a hissy fit, But if we can't straighten it out in the next month or can't draft anyone, you'll probably be the starting quarterback.
That's an interesting theory. I would push back a little bit and say I just can't see I can't see the 49ers dropping Garoppolo with that contract. I think that's going to – I don't think that's an easy one for them to swallow.
No, there definitely have to be some juggling. You're absolutely right. Okay, here's an interesting one. New York Jets. Who is going to be their starting quarterback?
Oh, boy. So, again, you've heard Deshaun Watson's name linked to that. I think they're playing a game of chicken in Houston, and I don't think Houston's ready to unload Deshaun Watson. And maybe he forces his way out of there for sure. But I'm going to say they draft Zach Wilson, and Zach Wilson is the starter.
Okay. Again, we disagree, but we're kind of in the same logic here. I think opening day, you will see Deshaun Watson. behind center for the Jets. I think they've got they're going to trade the 2 firsts. I think it's this year, the 2 firsts next year, and maybe even their quarterback as a fill gap for Houston to get Deshaun Watson. Now, I do have in parentheses next to Deshaun Watson, if I'm totally wrong and something happens, that Zach Wilson will be the starting quarterback. So we're on the same wavelength. It's just a matter of if they trade for Watson or not.
And so it sounds like Sam Darnold is no longer in New York. That sounds like the both of us can agree on that.
Yeah, I think we do agree on that. Absolutely.
I think Sam Darnold is actually a pretty serviceable quarterback.
Yes, I like them linked to the Patriots, but there's no way the Jets are going to let him out there. So the Patriots get him.
I would prefer him in Pittsburgh over Ben Roethlisberger, to be honest.
Yes. Well, it's fine. We're both in the same situation. These idiot GMs, are keeping these guys around and forfeiting another year of development with a young quarterback. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
I agree.
This would be the quickest one yet. Kansas City Chiefs.
I think everybody can agree Patrick Mahomes will be there.
Yeah, no-brainer there. Now, this I thought was a no-brainer, but I have heard talk, so you might go a different direction. The Raiders?
I'm going to stick with Derek Carr. It's interesting. I feel like John Gruden, during his quarterback camps, he always seems to love quarterbacks, but I don't think he loves Derek Carr. Although when he did his quarterback camps before he was a head coach, he loved Derek Carr. But I don't think that's a good relationship. I don't think they're going anywhere else, though.
And I agree with that. I think they would love to find a replacement for Carr, but they just can't get someone to legitimize a trade or releasing him. So I agree. Derek Carr at the Raiders. Okay, another no-brainer. The Chargers.
Yeah, that's Justin Herbert for sure. That's not. I don't think that's changing.
Yeah, agree with you there. Now, this is a fairly interesting one. Denver Broncos.
I'm going to say Drew Lock. I saw something about John Elway loving Drew Lock, and so I don't think they're going to move on from Drew Lock yet. He hasn't really panned out. He's shown some kind of flashes of potentially what he could be, but I'm going to say that Drew Lock is starting there.
Okay, and I agree with you. I do have in parentheses Trey Lance because he was kind of linked with them, but I don't see why you would do that. Drew Lock's had injuries, and he seems like he could be a decent quarterback. You're talking a team that's not going deep in the playoffs if they make the playoffs. So you got to give this guy, Drew Lock, another year or two to see if he pans out.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. Your team, Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, so I guess it's got to be Ben Roethlisberger. And I don't know how I really feel about it, to be honest. I still haven't really been able to figure out how I feel about it. I know that Pittsburgh's all about loyalty and kind of they've been kind of built on that. I don't think Ben's cutting it anymore. And I would like to see, like I said before, like Sam Darnold would be great, I think. Maybe I know, they picked up Dwayne Haskins, who was a first round pick a couple of years ago, who was kind of immature. And so maybe he's the future, but I think as of right now, it's got to be Ben Roethlisberger.
Same here. Next one, Baltimore Ravens. Now, I'm going to stop by saying I'm not high on this guy. We're both in multiple football fantasy leagues. This guy always goes high, one of the top 3 quarterbacks. I don't like the guy as a quarterback. I think he's got a terrible arm, or maybe not terrible, but an overrated arm. And I think anyone that has a career based on their legs, it's a short career. So I have Lamar Jackson here, even though he definitely is not on top of my list. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that. I've been shocked that he hasn't kind of got his bell rung really at all. And, Mike Vick would take some big hits and kind of, be injured quite a bit. And Lamar's done a good job of not taking those hits. So I agree with what you said, though. I'm impressed that he doesn't get hit as much as he probably should.
Right. Cleveland Browns.
Baker Mayfield for sure.
Same here. Cincinnati Bengals.
Well, So you would think it'd be Joe Burrows. However, he blew up his knee, so I don't think he's going to be starting by any means. I think maybe later. I think he could be come back. Midway through the year. What? So I'm going to go Brandon Allen.
Okay, I wasn't aware. I thought maybe he was going to be back for the first game. So I do have Joe Burrows as mine, but obviously that would have to be changed if his injury persists.
Yeah, it was a pretty close one, so I would be shocked. I think they were talking about it at one point that they might even keep him out for the entire season.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't heard any of that. Okay. All right. So Tennessee Titans.
Ryan Tannehill.
I don't see how you can go away from Tannehill. He hasn't done anything negative since he's been on the team.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
This is probably an obvious one. Indiana Colts.
Yeah, I think that's got to be Carson Wentz.
Same here. You really got to go with that one. Okay, now here's our earlier discussion. The Houston Texans. Who do you think will be their starting quarterback?
Yeah, so I think, and now this is where it gets interesting. I honestly don't think they're going to trade Deshaun Watson, and he's made it known that he doesn't want to be there. He did just sign a deal, so I think they're kind of just hanging on and hoping. But so I think it's going to be Deshaun Watson. I just don't think I don't think they're going to get the return that they want for him, and I don't think they really want to give him up, no matter what the return is. So I think he's going to be there.
Okay, and
which will make they'll make for a really uncomfortable situation for sure.
Okay, so this is probably the one with the furthest apart. This and the Patriots, I guess. I think he's gone. Like I said, I think it's going to New York, and I think they're going to go with a high quarterback. My pick is that they're going to have Zach Wilson, and that's going to be their starting quarterback when we're watching Houston football next year or this year. So you have what's his name?
I have Deshaun Watson staying.
Yeah. Then I have Wilson. Okay. The Jaguars.
I've been high on this guy for a while. I love his hair. His hair is incredible, and I think his just football pedigree and just his arm strength and awareness, and he's a big boy that can run as well too. So there's no way if the Jacksonville Jaguars screw this pick up, I don't know what to tell you. But so they're gonna take Trevor Lawrence with the first pick, and so he'll be starting for them right from the get-go.
And that's a no-brainer, and maybe you can set me straight, because I have heard this nowhere. Isn't an established quarterback a lot more valuable to you than a rookie that you're not sure what direction is going? I don't understand why there's not more chatter that this is my own theory, the Jacksonville Jaguars trade the number one pick for Deshaun Watson. And maybe, this is probably the only trade where you would get something thrown in with the Deshaun Watson. So now you got an established quarterback. You can build your team immediately instead of waiting for Lawrence to develop. And why haven't I heard that anywhere? Why isn't that feasible?
Yeah, that's that. You're right. I think a big part of that is cap wise, you're not paying as much, so they Jags could be trying to keep their cap down a little bit, with Lawrence on that rookie contract. But yeah, you're right, and it is interesting. You're going to get an already established Deshaun Watson and potentially something else in the deal as well, which is kind of mind blowing to think about. But yeah, there hasn't been that talk whatsoever. It just seems like it's Trevor Lawrence, and that's absolutely who it's going to be.
And I thought I had read that they were one of the teams that were not in cap jail at all, that they had the space. So, why not start from the top?
They have a ton of cap space. And I think that's part of it too. I think maybe they're going to, draft Lawrence and try to really develop a team around Lawrence and they'll have plenty of money that they could spend, as well as probably, they'll have plenty of good picks as well too. So, but yeah, no, that's a good theory. Honestly, maybe Jacksonville does just sneak up and trade for for Deshaun.
But you've heard nothing. You don't even hear the supposed experts suggesting that. I haven't read it anywhere. I think I'm going to send an email to the GM of Jacksonville and put a little bug in his ear.
There you go. I like that. When the Steelers were when they started 0-6 2 years ago, I was hoping that they just trade, just tank, trade trade Connor and everybody and draft Trevor Lawrence. That's how good I think he's going to be.
Yeah, see, and I always worry about rookies. So they can talk about the world, but you look at how many Heisman Trophy winners have not succeeded in the NFL. It's incredible. These miss players. Okay, here's an interesting one. The Washington no-name football team.
I'm going to say this could go anywhere. I'm going to say Sam Darnold. I think it's an absolute crapshoot, to be honest. But I'm going to say Sam Darnold.
And okay. Welcome in NDT show. He says hello to you, Brandon.
Hello.
And I'm cheating here, okay? I have Trubisky or Sam Darnold or Mariota. So I'm cheating here a little bit. But I think what they're going to get is whoever's out there of those three. I'm at least narrowing it down to three.
Yeah. Well, and you know what's interesting? It might not even be any of those three. It could be, it could be just somebody. I heard a rumor that Jameis Winston was linked there. If New Orleans doesn't pick up his contract, and so who knows?
Did Brees officially retire?
So I'm not positive. There's rumblings, but I'm pretty sure that he could come back, and there hasn't been anything fully official. I think he said he wanted to take some time to step away and to really evaluate it, but then I hadn't heard anything.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. All right. So we're all over the board with Washington, but one of those three seems probably in the lead anyways. You went with Donald. And I think if they could get Donald, that would be their first choice, I guess, to narrow it down. But I just don't know. Like I said, I think Donald is going to Houston.
Yeah. So I guess, it's interesting. I think a lot of this, the first domino that's going to fall it would have to be Deshaun Watson. If that happens, then I think it kind of sets everything in motion. I think that's kind of what everybody's been kind of holding off on.
It isn't a big kind of the timetable. The big free agency starts next week, correct? Or this coming week? Is that correct? Or is it the week after?
I believe it's this coming week. Yeah.
Okay. New York Giants.
I think it's too early to give up on him. I'm not a big fan of him. But I think Daniel Jones. I don't think they're going to give up on him. He kind of shows some stints of being a quality NFL quarterback, but then he just shows stints of like, what are you doing? I mean, he fumbles the ball more than anybody, which is crazy. But I'm on Daniel Jones.
No, I agree because I use your phrase and I look at the Giants, say, what are they doing? I mean, they're all over the place anyway. So you got to give the guy a break. Dallas. No-brainer.
Yeah, they just signed him. So Dak Prescott, that's for sure. And what was it, like 126 guaranteed? Like doesn't even have to play or something. I think it's all like 126 mil guaranteed from that contract.
It's a ridiculous contract. I don't get it. A guy that's coming off an injury, you don't even know how he's going to respond yet. There should be all sorts of incentives in there before they give him that kind of guaranteed money.
Yeah, I agree. Just give me 126 mil and I'll be all right.
That's right. Philadelphia.
Jalen Hurts. They ran Carson out, so it's got to be Jalen.
Yep, gotta agree. Okay, here's an interesting one. Seattle Seahawks. Is he staying or going?
He's staying. I don't think you can unload. I don't think you can unload that. I know he's voiced kind of so I guess his camp has said that he's kind of unhappy with some of the things that Seattle's got going on, but I think it's got to be Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I think they're going to pacify him. They're going to load that offensive line in front of him, and everyone's going to be happy.
Yeah, he's got a great wide receiving crew. That should keep him happy.
Los Angeles Rams.
Well, they just traded for him, so I'm going to go Matthew Stafford.
Yep, no brainer there. Arizona Cardinals.
That's going to be Kyler Murray.
Yep. No brainer there. Well, no brainer in my opinion. Okay, so turn the page here. All right, here's another little discussion point. San Francisco 49ers.
So we kind of went back and forth about that. I think, like I just said, I think they have to stick with Jimmy G with that contract. I don't think they can unload him. And I know you have him going to New England, but I think he's there for at least one more year.
Okay, and this is one of the ones that we totally disagree on. I have them, obviously, I told you, releasing Garoppolo or find a way to trade them to the Pats and picking up either Mac Jones or Kyle Trask as their starting quarterback.
See, in that for those that to me that just sounds like a downgrade, even though Jimmy G hasn't been great for him. But
is Jimmy G not great, or is it just the guy's injuries have run the gamut? I don't know.
Yeah. He's interesting. I mean, when he first got traded there, he was lights out, and then it just kind of seems like he hasn't been able to find that again.
Yep. Okay, the Green Bay Packers.
I'm going Aaron Rodgers there. I don't think that's going to change.
Did they ever name the MVP? Did he win it, or I don't remember hearing that in the news.
That's a great question. I mean, I think he had to, right?
Well, I would think so, but it's funny. I don't remember seeing that.
Yeah. No. Now that you say that, I agree too. I don't remember seeing that either. But it had to be.
Right. It definitely has to be. I'll have to search on that after. Okay. Chicago Bears.
So this is another one that could go anywhere. I'm gonna say Mitch Trubisky, but I'm not confident with that. Yeah, I guess you could go. This is kind of like the Washington football team. You could go anywhere, just about. I think.
I actually have narrowed. So you're going Trubisky. I actually have narrowed this down. And what is it? Wilson they've been linked to, or is it Watson? Who is the one that they're supposedly going to trade the farm for? In the news, Chicago is supposed to be very active trying to get one. I forget which of those two it was.
No, I think it was Wilson. Yeah,
Wilson. Okay, which you're not going to get. I have Sam Darnold here. They're going to work out a trade or somehow pick up Darnold a lot cheaper than Trubisky, and he'll be their quarterback. That's what I have as my pick.
I could see that. Yeah, I couldn't argue that.
Minnesota Vikings.
Kirk Cousins.
Same thing here. There's all sorts of weird things. They were talking about that they'd like to move on from him, but there's just all sorts of stuff with his contract that they can't, and people won't pick it up. I can't remember the details. So, yeah, I'm going with Kirk Cousins, too. Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I'm going to Jared Goff and say, they just traded for him. So
you got to throw that in. With his contract, you got to throw him up there and let him see what he does.
Yeah.
They're not going anywhere anyway, so why not? Okay, New Orleans Saints. Do you think Frieza's coming back? Is he a starter?
I don't think so. I think he's had his fun. I think he's going to retire, and I think even though he's not under contract, he was there last year. I think they're going to go Jameis, and I think potentially that could be kind of their future potentially. So I think I'm going Jameis Winston.
I thought this would be a surprise pick, but you went the same direction. I go Winston also. I think the guy has got incredible talent and potential if you just can get a quarterback coach in there to get his brain straightened out, it's really his downfall is turnovers.
For sure.
That's more of a mental thing, I think, the way you're reading the defenses and stuff. So
if he can't play well for Sean Payton, I don't think he can play well in the NFL. I think Sean Payton's a perfect coach for him.
Right. He's had a year to go to tutor on the Breeze and learn the system. So, yeah, we're both on the same page with that. Okay, here's probably your toughest call of the evening. Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I think you and I both agreed. Tom Brady, it is.
And they're talking about now. I heard they did an extension for at least 1 year, but they're talking maybe extending him for 4 years too. So
yeah, I think he'll retire in Tampa Bay for sure.
Okay, Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, a lot of rumors out there. I think it's Teddy Bridgewater, but I could see it potentially being like a Sam Darnold or somebody like that. I know it seems like we should have turned this into a drinking show with the amount of times we've said Sam Darnold, but yeah, I think it's Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, I have Bridgewater too. I like him, and I was kind of hoping the Patriots would be able to pick him up, but his contract is so heavy that you really can't do anything with it. You're not going to get a legitimate trade. So, and he's a good quarterback, so that's the guy for me too. And the last one on the list, I'm not sure how this list was. It's certainly not alphabetical order. The Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, I'm going to say Matt Ryan. I think they're going to continue with him, although he struggled for a couple of years now, but I think they have to with that contract.
Now, I agree with that, but he was one of the guys I saw linked to San Francisco in the trade, so that would be interesting. That would free up Jimmy G if they picked up Ryan, but I don't know why you would pick up a contract like that with an older quarterback, unless they would pick him up as a transition player too.
Yeah, no, I agree. And with you saying that, it was interesting I was just thinking the fact that if Jimmy G went back to New England, obviously, he was there before. Bill Belichick just must be like shaking his head about losing both Jimmy G and then Tom Brady, then to watch Tom Brady go on and win a Super Bowl as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a killer. But, it drives me crazy when I hear there's two things that bug me, and we talked about this on our last show, is one, when they've given him so much credit for a stacked team like that. That's the first thing. And the second thing is they make this out to like a total failure by Belichick. Now, I'm going to jump off the bandwagon with Belichick and say I do not like the Cam Newton decisions, but boy, you can't you got to give the guy a couple of years. He's brought them down well under the cap. So we'll now see if he's a good GM, right? We know he's a good coach. We'll see if he's a good GM.
Yeah, no, I agree for sure.
So if there's no questions or comments in the chat, we're going to end the fourth quarter here and move on. So, Brandon, thank you for joining me again, and we'll pop up for another sports edition of J&N Travels at a later date. Do you have anything you would like to say before we sign off?
No, thanks for having me, and hopefully we have some good college hoops, upon us, and I'm gonna watch the final few holes here of the Players Championship. We got a good leaderboard right now. Good.
All right, and Dirt Diggers from the UK just joined us and popped in. Hello to you guys, and thank you very much for joining us. We will be popping up for J&N Travels Sports Edition number 3 at a future date. So hope you all have a good weekend. Enjoy the March Madness. Enjoy the golf tournaments if you're into that. Brandon, have a good night. And good